Hey there, welcome back to Northlight Photographic Workshops. And welcome to my first video post Photostock. We had a really good time this year at Photostock 2023, and boy, I can't urge people enough to come next year because this year it kind of broke loose with David Burnett being here, and we had a really good time. It was pretty amazing. But anyway, all that aside, something happened at the Photostock that got me back into thinking with my old brain again. And as many of you know, I haven't really shot any film in quite a long time. In fact, the other night I was thinking about it and I realized it's been probably almost 9 years since I actually shot a roll of film. Thinking back to the last time I did might have been like 2016 or even 15 in the winter. And I think some of the last film I shot was in Detroit, and I didn't even process the film. As a matter of fact, I've got about 15 rolls of film from trips to Iceland at the end there, at my last of my film processing days, that are unprocessed. So if I can dig those up, I think I'm going to get to them. So that gets to my next thing here, is that we're going to be developing a roll of film in this video. And this is something I've not done in any of my videos so far. And I think I might be doing a lot more. And this is because my good friend Ike, David Eisenlord, gifted me this wonderful little piece of machinery, which is a Leica M2. And any of you that know your cameras know that this is a wonderful little camera. And I've always wanted one, and I think Ike knew that. And I don't know what got into him, but you know, the mighty Quinn came through and gave this to me. And I have been doing nothing but playing around with it ever since, and it's only a few days, of course, but I've had some film. I had some old Tri-X in the refrigerator, ready to go, and so I loaded this puppy up and went out shooting with it. And I also had no developer left. I used to use, back in the days, I used to use HC110 pretty much religiously, and I had some old stock solution or an old bottle of it around here that hadn't been mixed yet, but it had gone quite red. And I mixed it up the other day thinking I would try it, but you know, I don't want to wreck a good roll of film on bad developers. So before doing that, I got onto the internet and I ordered from B&H some D-76. Now, I would have ordered HC110, but they won't ship it to you anymore because I believe the hydroquinone that's in it, liquid hydroquinone. So anyway, Kodak to the rescue. They still made good old D-76. And I know that some of you might comment below that there's other developers, and I realize that. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. It's just I wanted to go simple right now and just kind of get to it. So I thought I would show this to all of you that are interested, that haven't developed your own film at any time in the past. D-76 is an old developer from Kodak, and it's kind of a medium range, all-purpose developer. I mean, it's not really technically really high grain or high accutance or high sharpness or anything like that. It's kind of mid-range along the everything else, and a mid-range as far as developers go, and that's what I'm going to use right now. But anyway, it's easy to do. It's still relatively inexpensive, which is different than I found in the film. I think the last time I bought these rolls of film, they were $4.35, and they're now $12.99 a piece. So film's a little more dear these days. I never did just blow it off like I did digital frames, but still, I'm being a lot more selective about what I photograph these days. But anyway, D-76 comes in this. You mix it into a gallon, and we're going to go through that in a minute. You mix it into a gallon jug. Best to have something like this. I even ordered a brand new 1 gallon photographic jug from B&H when I ordered this. So I'm going to have some fun mixing this up, and we're also going to have some fun developing it. Now, the things that you're going to need to develop are, again, you know, some sort of a jug to keep your developer in, the developer that you choose, in this case D-76, of course. Need your film that you've made. We're going to take that out of the Leica here in a couple of minutes. I'm really excited about that, by the way. And what we'll do is we'll get the film out of there. I'll take it into the dark where I can't take you, and I am going to put it on a reel. I've got 2 reels here and a 2-reel can. I couldn't find my 1-reel can anywhere. And I like to use a 2-reel. I like to have more solution in there, even if I'm just doing 1 roll of film. It helps with agitation, I believe, and that kind of thing. But so I advise these kind of reels anyway. They are, if you're just starting out doing this and you're just learning, some people might suggest that you use Patterson reels, which are plastic reels that you put your film in and you crank them and it cranks it in. But believe me, those can add to some nightmares, and it's best if you're going to learn the right way and start off with stainless steel reels and a stainless steel tank. It's just the way to go, believe me. I've been both ways, and although it was a little difficult to learn rolling on one of these, once I did, I never looked back. So that's what we're going to do next as far as all of this goes. But we'll get back to the Leica here. I mean, this is an amazing little camera, and thanks again to Ike so profusely for this. I've got he gave me a little Nikkor lens with it. It's a 35mm f2.5 lens. Beautiful little lens as far as I can tell, and I've been out shooting around here. I don't live in a big city anymore, which would be the ideal place for this. I mean, that's my idea, is street shooting and more candids and things, because it's so small and it's so quiet and it's shutter release. And but I did take it up to Mackinac City. I took it around here a bit to Cross Village, and I'm planning on doing some more portraits and things with it once I get my feet wet with it, and am getting more used to it. It's a rangefinder camera, so I've been used to a DSLR or a single lens reflex camera for so long that it's a little bit challenging getting back used to a rangefinder camera again. It's also I've probably shot more than a few images with my lens cap on, because you can't really see that the lens cap is on, and I've been getting excited about some images and shot them, and I just thought to myself later on in the day, did I take off the lens cap? So anyway, no matter how long you've been doing this, there's always those simple mistakes to make. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really hoping that I've got something good that I can share with you at the end of this. So let's get on with it here. I think what I'm going to do right now is go through the process of rewinding the first roll of film. I ran through this last night. I think the last of it I shot up in Mackinac City, and who knows? We'll see what I got here. It's not like the old days when I was wandering around Detroit and things, but it's definitely interesting to kind of be a fly on the wall. And one of the things that I'm finding out with this, and just cameras in general, that's different than when I was younger, is I'm this old man now, right? So nobody looks at you. You become kind of invisible in a way, and as long as you're not being creepy and leering or anything like that, nobody really makes any point of seeing me with this. I was in an ice cream shop yesterday, and I was photographing people in the ice cream shop. Nobody paid any attention to me whatsoever. So anyway, we'll see what's on this roll of film. So I've got to rewind it here. This is going to be my first rewind. There's a little button on the front here that you hit, and I pull up the rewind here, and I'll hit the rewind, and we're just going to crank that film back through here. This is fun. I haven't done this in a long time. Just feeling that resistance of it coming back into the roll. Getting there. Not like the old days when I had, when I had the motor rewind. There we go. I am through with it. That's great. Okay, so closing that down, we are going to open up the back of the camera here. Wow, here I am. There's my reel is still in there. There we go. Still got my leader down in there. There we go. I can remember back when I was working as an assistant, there we go, for the great Alan McQueenie in New York back in the day, and he shot one of these. You know, rarely in certain parts of the job, but I'd be working on with an F3, and then I'd be working with him on this one. And so my job was to reload and keep an eye on him when he needed to be reloaded and that kind of thing. And the F3s, I could reload those things in a matter of seconds, but it was a different thing with the Leica. And I'll go through loading this with you in another video. We'll do some more Leica videos. I think it'll be fun to do. But yeah, Alan was, he would use one of these, and it was a beautiful camera to use, but anybody that knows anything about loading these knows that you can't load them in 5 seconds. And, when you've got somebody who's in the groove and really feeling it and working on a job, and they really want that camera back, and you're not loading it fast enough, things can get pretty tense. So that was some of my memories of Leicas back in the day, before I actually had one myself. So anyway, here's the roll of film. I'm going to take it back into the darkroom, and we are going to load it on this reel here, put it in the tank in the dark. I'm going to also mix up the D-76 with you so you can see how I do that. And then what we're going to do is do a little bit of a pre-wash, which I like to do, which means that I'll put a little bit of clear water in here for a minute or two just to get the film wet and ready to accept the developer. And then I am going to be putting in the D-76 at a 1-to-1 dilution, which I like to use. You can use it straight, but I'm going to use it at 1-to-1 for about 9.5 minutes. Used to be the time that I used to work with it. And then I'll fix it with just plain sodium thiosulfate, and we'll see what we get. So I'm going to take you on and do that, but I can't take you into the dark to load the film, so I'll see you the next time when I'm ready to put this into some solution. All right? Let's go. Okay, so now what we've got to do is mix up the D-76 here, and what I'm going to do is start off with a bit of solution that's slightly warmer. Kind of use a little bit warmer than room temperature. The powder will go into a solution a lot easier that way. Let me pour that out, get it a little warmer. Let that run a bit. So what we're going to do here is cut the bag here so that we can pour out our powder into the mixing jug. But what we want to do is make sure that we have some solution there to begin with so that it's suspended. So there we've got a little bit of warm water that we'll put in. Now, because we're making up a gallon completely, I can almost fill this. So now I'm going to take my stirring rod and keep the water moving here while I'm adding in my powder. Now, some people might be irritated by the smell that comes out of this. You want to be very careful not to shake it up a lot so that you're not putting a lot of powder into the air. You would want to wear a mask if you're going to do that. But none of this is getting airborne. I'm just carefully pouring it in here. I like to let it mellow here a bit, let it mix up a bit. So far, so good. We'll add a little bit more. Back in college, I used to do this as part of my job. I kept the darkrooms running, and I mixed up so much chemistry back in those days. And then throughout my whole career, this kind of feels good to be doing it again. It's been a long time since I've smelled these smells, actually. You don't get any real good smells with digital work. Not that I have anything against it, but this really makes it a little bit more tactile and real. Okay, down to the last bit of my powder here. I'm going to dispose of that. I'm just going to let that settle out a little bit and make sure that I've got all the powder mixed up. You have to let the water clear a little bit because you've mixed a lot of air into the water as well. I'm feeling a little particulate down there, but I think I'm pretty good. It's pretty close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up to a full 72 ounces right now with just some cold water. And there we go. Now I'm going to let this settle a little bit more, and then I'm going to pour it on off into my brand new jug here, and then it will be my stock solution. And as I said before, you can use it in full strength with a less development time. I like to use a little bit longer development time. I think in my own personal experience that it helps bring out a more full range of tones. I'm not looking to make a real high contrast negative, if you know what I mean. So there, I've got all of the particulate is mixed. So I'm going to take a funnel here, and I'm going to pour this off into my gallon jug. Fantastic. So now I am going to take and rinse out my jug here a little bit, and then I'm going to fill it up to the point where I'll mix this up to 1 full gallon, and then we will have our solution mixed here, and then we'll be ready to develop. Now what I'm going to do is let it sit for a little bit and mix up and cool down a little bit, and then I am going to do the development with you. So while I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm going to go into the dark here, and I'm going to load the film onto the reels, and then we'll come back and we'll get out of this, all right? So now I've taken the opportunity, I've added another 56 ounces of water to this to make it a full gallon, and I've mixed it up, and it's been cooling down for a little while, so it's ready to go. The film is all loaded in the tank. I've done that in the darkroom here, and it's ready to go as well. So what I'm going to do first is mix out a bit of water first for a pre-wash. So I'm just going to take out 16 ounces because that's what I know is in this can here, into this tank. And now this is just straight water, obviously, and it's not going to do any development. All it does is it pre-wets the film, which is something that I've always done because I feel as if in pre-wetting the film like this, I tap it, I get all the bubbles off of the film, and that way the film itself is already wet and it's ready to take the developer evenly. And that way I think that I get, at least I think, that I get a much more even development by doing a bit of a pre-wash. So what I do is I'll tap this off, I'll pre-wash for about a minute, I'll let it sit in there for about a minute while I prepare my developer. Now, I'm going to mix this as a 1-to-1. Because I have 16 ounces in here, even though I'm only doing 1 roll of film, I'm going to mix a full 16 ounces of developer. Now, in doing that 1-to-1, that means I'm going to go 8 ounces of water to 8 ounces of my stock solution of D-76. So first, I'm going to pour out the 8 ounces of the developer. All right. And there I am with that. Okay? So the rest of it, I already know that my water here is at 68 degrees. So I'm not doing any pre-measurement of that. I like to develop at 68 degrees. Some people go 70 degrees. The warmer you go, the faster things happen. A little bit more catalyzing that way. So now I've got my mixture here, my 1-to-1 of developer. And as you can see, it's just clear. There's no color to it whatsoever. So it's mixed and ready to go. I'm going to take and do a little bit more agitation of the water in here while it's pre-washing. At the same time, I'm going to set my timer over here, which is off camera, at 9.5 minutes. Now, that is the time. They recommend 9 3/4 minutes. I've always just done it 9.5 minutes when I use D-76. So anyway, this is the first roll of film I've developed in like 9 years. And so far, it's like riding a bike. I don't think I've made any mistakes yet, and I'm sure you'll catch me if I did. So there we are. We're ready to go. I'm going to dump out the pre-wash. And I am going to pour in my 1-to-1 developer D-76. And before I start agitating, I'm going to turn on my timer. And I'm going to agitate the same as with the the water. Now, I like to give about a 5-second agitation to begin with, 30 seconds once I first poured it in, but then after that I wait. Every 30 seconds I agitate for about 5 seconds. Once again, I'm tapping on it pretty hard to make sure that I don't have any bubbles attached to the film, because any bubbles on the film will obviously develop slower and then you're going to have problems. This is what we're going to do for the next 9 minutes, agitating every 30 seconds. I'll be back to you when we are ready to pour this out and go to the fixer, okay? Okay, so I'm just coming up on my 9-minute agitation now, and after that I'm going to be ready to pour in my fix, which I've taken the liberty to mix enough right here to fix this piece of film, or to fix this film. Now, I'm going to, after I dump this out, which will be my final agitation, I will, hang on here, it's 9:30. Okay, my final agitation will be me pouring it out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of water to this tank just to rinse it out. I don't use stop bath. Other photographers may use stop bath in their development process. I do not. There's really no need for it. So what I do is I'll just give it a quick rinse with water, and then I'll pour the fix in there. And then we'll go to the fixing. We'll fix for about 5 minutes, and then I can do the reveal of the film and see what kind of exposures I've had. But yeah, anyway, so there we are on my time. I'm going to dump out. I'm going to make sure I get everything out of there. I'm going to pour a little bit of just clear water in there. Now, of course, if you work on, I'm on a well and I've got really great water, but if you live on a system where you need filtered water or anything like that, I would use distilled water for this. So there's my rinse. And now I will pour in my fix. Now again, for this demonstration here, I'm using sodium thiosulfate straight, mixture of pentahydrate. I'd say I'm using probably a 30 to 40% solution here. So there we go. I have that in there. I'm going to set my, I like to go for about 10 minutes in the fix. I'm going to set it for 10 minutes on the timer there. And once again, I'm going to agitate a bit. I just don't like to let it sit still when it's fixing, especially. You'd like to keep moving the fixer solution across the surface of the film, because what we're doing now is we're removing all of the unused silver from the film itself. And it's just kind of an important process, so you just don't want to have it stand there. And, you know, because you can get some uneven fixing then. So I'm just going to keep doing this, especially for the first couple of minutes. And then we'll set it down, and we'll come back here, and at about 5 minutes I'll do a little bit of a reveal so you can see what we've got here. All right, it's exciting. I'm really excited about this. We've gone actually a full 10 minutes now, so it should be complete. And what I'm going to do is open it up, and very often what I like to do is just leave the fix in here. I don't dump it out. I'll pick it up out of here like this. Now, the fix is okay to touch on your fingers for a little bit. You can rinse your hands. It's not a big deal. But if you do get irritated by these things, I would use some nitrile gloves. So as you can see, it's really nicely cleared. And there's some images there. I'm not sure if you can see them on this little camera down here. But yeah, I've got some real nice exposures. And I didn't have the lens cap on as much as I thought I did, which is good. In fact, I don't think I had it on at all. Oh yeah, these look great. These look really nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do, even though it's it's fixed completely, so I'm going to put this back in there. I'm going to dump the fix out. I usually save my fix for a few rolls of film. It doesn't exhaust that quickly. And I'm going to save the fix. I'm going to put this back in the tank, and I'm going to wash it. And I'm going to give it a good 10 minutes, 15 minutes wash before I hang it up to dry. So yeah, stick with me here. This is a lot of fun. It's pretty exciting, first roll of film in a long, long time, and I'm very happy that it looks good and that I didn't mess up in front of you guys. So let's go here, put a little bit of water in here, rinse it around real good. Now what I will do with this is I'm just going to rinse this in here. I've got a film washer that I haven't dug out of storage yet, but I'll have to do that pretty soon. What you want to happen is when you're washing, you want it to be able to drain on the bottom because the fixer is generally heavier and you're washing that fix out of the film. So if you can drain it out the bottom, it works really well. In this case I can't, but what I'm going to do is I'm putting the empty roll on the bottom, the full roll on the top here, so that basically as it's rinsing, any fix will fall to the bottom, and I'm just going to keep dumping it. But I'm going to give it about 15 minutes wash. I'm going to hang it up to dry, and then once it's dry, I'll be able to do some scans of the film and do some proofing. I'm not going to print this on the enlarger. In fact, I don't even have an enlarger out yet, but you can bet your life that now that I'm getting back into this, I'm going to dig an enlarger out of the storage in the attic and get that going too. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me through this. It's a lot of fun. And look for the next video when I do some scanning and a couple of prints of this, all right? So take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.